Hello boys and girls, I'd like to welcome you again to another Edmodo class. Today the purpose of this video, you know that we're reviewing some of our short stories and we're going through the test just to see where we didn't do well and how we can improve our writing pieces up to a 5. Okay, so basically this video has two purposes today. First of all, we're going to prep for Monday's class. I'm going to give you a little preview of things there so that I can circulate and work with you on the writing pieces in class. But secondly, this video, the second half of the video, is also going to prepare you for a quiz. Now that you're done reading The Most Dangerous Game 2 times, this is the second time we've read it, and it is just a short story. After you've read it a second time, I have another quiz for you. Remember, I'm going to prep you for the quiz at the second half of this video. But before we prepare you for the quiz, I'm going to make sure you know what's going on in Monday's class. There are 3 purposes for Monday's class. Number 1, we are going to take a look at your Edmodo scores. Make sure that you turned in this video and that you have completed the quiz, and hopefully you'll do well on that. Number 2, we're going to share our thoughts about The Most Dangerous Game. You're going to relate to the literary terms when you're doing so, but we're going to share back if you found some lit terms in the story and just have a discussion on The Most Dangerous Game. And then number 3, we are going to write answers to 2 short answer questions from the test. These are notes that you already have, and I made you take again in class. I wanted to make sure that you had these notes. Can you, for example, find an example of situational irony, verbal irony, dramatic irony? I know that in Friday's class, I already had some great students giving me examples of verbal irony that they found in the book. That's what's important, boys and girls. Not that you can just tell me what verbal irony is, that it's involving spoken words that are the opposite of what's intended, but find an example in the text. And what does that do for you? Why does the author use verbal irony here? You know, is there sarcasm? Is the author trying to make fun of a character or something like that? So find an example of situational, verbal, dramatic irony. If you can, share that with me in class. I also wanted to focus on static and dynamic characters, part of our essay. So if you can talk to me about Ivan, Rainsford, and Zaroff, are they static? Are they dynamic? Characterization definitely is going to be something I want to focus on. There will be a question in the quiz about characterization too. But can you find examples of direct and indirect characterization? Direct is the hard one. Most authors do not use direct characterization because, quite frankly, it's boring. You don't want to be told the character is angry. You want to see it through his actions, the emotions, or the things that he says that we say are to find out about how the character is. And direct characterization, the author just states, the author gives direct commentary saying this person is angry. So anyway, while you were reading Most Dangerous Game, that was an assignment. So on Monday's class, the second thing we're going to do is just kind of discuss this, and I'm really hoping for some great volunteers to share with me your thoughts. How was the story narrated? Could you find an example of alliteration, assonance, and consonance? Can you give me an example of that from the text? That's what I'm looking for, and not just to be able to define these terms, but find them in the text. We're able to do that on our second read, boys and girls. So that is the second purpose of Monday's class. First, we'll look at Edmodo. Secondly, we're going to take a look at our thoughts of The Most Dangerous Game based on the lit terms. But third, I'm going to prepare you to rewrite 2 different essays from the test. Maybe you did one of these already. Maybe you didn't do so hot. You can improve. If you didn't do these yet, you should have been able to answer any of these 8 short answer questions. And many of us skipped some because we knew there was no way. The 2 that have to do with The Most Dangerous Game, boys and girls, right here. Can you compare and contrast the characters General Zaroff and The Most Dangerous Game and Ziam and Von Gravitz from The Interlopers? So, and we kind of already discussed this. Be prepared to write this essay in class. I will circulate and help you and make sure you get 5 points on this short answer test, on this short answer question. So basically, we've got Zaroff and Von Gravitz and Ziam. They're all hunters. They're all out to hunt men, but for a definitely different purpose. That's comparing and contrasting. We want to tell how they're the same, but then how they are different as well. And the purpose of their hunting, one feels it's a sport and a game, and the other 2 are out there to protect their land, and they have hatred towards each other. But then it relates back to that static and dynamic character, and I want that to be incorporated as well. Don't forget that a static character does not change in the book, and a dynamic character does. And our main character Zaroff in the story we just read thinks it's okay to have his game right through the end of his story, where interlopers, our characters, do indeed change, and they learn a lesson, a valuable moral lesson. That's the first essay you'll be doing in class on Monday with me. And the second one I want to talk about is this one here, because I had a number of students try to answer this question, and I don't know what the difficulty was, but we know that the plot, first of all, boys and girls, plot is a literary term just for events. That just means the events in the story. But discuss the plot of The Most Dangerous Game, and be sure to describe how the chart is perfectly symmetrical, the plot chart. Now I'm going to go back to this other video here that I showed you the first time we were doing flip videos of this lesson. This is the plot chart, and I'm going to just view this whole slideshow from the beginning here and try to remind you about our plot chart. But this question in the essay part asks specifically for you to talk about how this plot chart is symmetrical. Now, I can put on there the exposition is, in the beginning, rising action. You could tell me an event like, for example, he meets Ivan, he has dinner with Zaroff, things like that are all part of the rising action there. And then when we get up to the climax, it is our turning point for our main character. And at that turning point, we have, and I'll just pop up the climax here. We've got the inciting incident, starts our action, climax up there is our turning point, and the resolution. These specific events I gave you in your in the first time we watched this video. It said Zaros decides to hunt Rainsford is our climax there. And because that's our climax, it's our turning point, look at how it's in the middle of our pyramid. It's very symmetrical. And then the other two key points are the resolution and the denouement. Rainsford falls off the ship into the ocean. I know it's a little hard to see there, but Rainsford jumps off the cliff into the ocean. And these 2 points here are very symmetrical. Take a look. I'm throwing in an extra line here. Our climax is dead center in the story. And symmetry, boys and girls, just means that the first half can mirror the second half. And that was missed by most of my students when they were trying to write this short answer. So the inciting incident, Rainsford falling off the ship, is just as far away from the climax, basically, as Rainsford jumping into the ocean. And we get a very symmetrical plot chart here. This needs to be stated so that we can, if you don't state those things, you're not answering the question fully. And the best I can give you is like 3 points here. Here again, discuss the plot and be sure to describe how the plot chart is perfectly symmetrical. So, we have to focus on the climax being in the middle, and that the inciting incident and the resolution are just as far away from the climax. And they're both kind of similar events. He falls into the ocean twice in the story. It's on purpose. The author does it on purpose. So, we will be writing those 2 essays in class as the second part of our class on Monday, and I just wanted to prepare you for it. So, basically, at this point in the video, I want to turn to prepare you for our the quiz that is coming up right after you're done with this video. As soon as you're done with this video, you will click on the next Edmodo assignment, which is a quiz. And on the quiz, I promise you that there will be 3 questions that will be based on literary terms. One of them being dealing with irony. And I will give you an example, a quote from the story, either situational, verbal, or dramatic irony. And I want you guys to see that in the literary term, the quote that I've chosen. Okay. I'm also going to ask you about the inciting incident and the resolution. That'll be a question on the quiz. And the third one is about characterization. So when you're looking at a quote and you're deciding whether it's direct or indirect characterization, remember that it's only indirect if it's the character's words, his appearance is described by the author, the character's inner thoughts, like for example when Rainsford is saying, keep your nerve, that's his inner thoughts, that's still indirect. It's not direct commentary by the author. The character's actions, what he's doing, that helps us get characterization indirectly, and another character's comment or reaction about that character. It's only direct when the author there's direct commentary. The author is commenting on the character and is directly describing a character's personality, inner feelings, things like that. If the author is directly stating those things, then it's direct. So be aware of that, because there is a question on the quiz right after this. Click on the quiz and do that. But I promise you also on the quiz, I want to prepare you, there are 2 questions from the story that you will need your book for. They're black and white, literal questions that I have to make sure that you really read this text. You have 60 minutes to take the quiz once you click start. And then once you click start, if you're not done with 60 minutes, it will close the quiz for you. You can look back in the test, you can go in online, you can check out text there, but there will be definite questions right from the text that you need to be able to find back in the text to make sure that you read. And if you did read the story and you know where some of these events are, I might ask you about the traps and things like that. You know that's going to be to the second half of the story. You're going to have to find those things in the text and answer the questions well within 60 minutes. Okay? So now that you're done watching this video, click turn in and say, thank you, Mr. Gilo, for prepping me for the class for Monday, or whatever it might be. You can even type, by the way, if you did find a good example of indirect characterization. Mr. Gilo, what do you think of this quote? Is this indirect characterization? I'll be like, yeah. If you want to type to me how you think that a character is static in the story, type that in as your comment. That's awesome. If you find some foreshadowing in the story, you want to point that out, I'm fine with that. You can do it on Monday too. We'll do that in Monday's class. So when you turn in this video doing something like that, telling me, I found an example of situational irony, Mr. Gilo, if you want to put that in there, that's a great turn-in response, and that's what I'm really hoping for. Turn in the video, get 2 points. Take the quiz, get 5 points, and you're off to 7 out of 7 to start your semester off. Okay? These are the first grades of the semester, so do well.